Hi, and welcome to another AOGP Outside of the Church podcast. I'm Jonathan Burke, co-host here with Jason Roba. This is Season 5, Episode 12. Title of the podcast is The Condition We Fail to Assign. I've been holding off on this for a while because of the touchiness of the subject of the E word.
Yeah.
With people in Scientology. So we might as well address the elephant in the room first about the E word, ethics. Because when you say that, people's hackles come up and their hair stands on end in their arms and they're like, woo, so glad I don't have to deal with that anymore. Well, okay. So that's the elephant in the room. Let's start off with this. Ethics is a personal thing. This is what LRH says. Ethics is not used to beat you over the head to get you to do something. This is what the church does. Now, this didn't used to be the case. When I was a kid, people were really cool about ethics, and they'd sit down with you and they'd talk to you about it. And, reason, when I say reason, I mean not reasonable, as in, we'll let them burn the house down. That's reasonable. But they were reasonable in the sense that they were sane on the subject of ethics and they could see what was going on. And that is something that changed over the course of about 10 years once Miscavige took over, and ethics was used as a punishment. It was used as leverage. You need to make up the damages and buy $5,000 worth of books and $10,000 worth of meters, and then maybe we'll let you pass go if you're a good boy or girl. So, of course, anybody that is reasonably sane is going to go, well, there's something wrong here because this doesn't feel like Scientology, and they'd be right because it isn't. So this is why people feel so poorly about the subject of ethics to the point that they just don't want to listen to it. Historically, the podcast we did in 2017 about ethics is the least listened to podcast of all of our podcasts to this date. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
That's how much bypass charge that's been touched on but not destimulated, people have on ethics. They would rather not know about it at all. Because they've been so maligned on the subject. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that they have been given some wrong indications, and probably more than a few. Have you ever had any mishandlings on ethics?
No, because fortunately I never really got involved with the Church of Scientology. I've kind of been indie all the way, and I'm not sure if I told this story yet on the podcast. I might have at the very beginning when we did the Love and Rockets podcast, but for those of you who don't know, I've been indie all the way. Both of my folks were in the Church of Scientology in the 70s, and they got out around 1981, had me in 85, and the tech was always around, so it's like my dad was kind of one of the first indies at home, teacher kid, Dianetics, teacher kid, contact assists, doing locationals with me, and I was never really part of any formal org. The only time I ever did was in 2016 when I did my auditor training over in an independent free zone group. But as far as the church goes, I did one of their was one of those $50 courses. I think I forgot what they call them, but it was the PTS SP course. I went and sat in one of their course rooms for 6 hours last October, and that's like the only experience I've ever had with the church besides buying some books. And I bought it was a Dynetics Original Thesis extension course, Dynetics Evolution of a Science, which I never finished with them. So other than that, I've never really had much of an exposure in this lifetime to the church. Something just didn't smell right. Something just wasn't right there. Something wasn't right. Not actual smell, but there's something funky about the way things were, and I just had a knowingness that I didn't want to have anything to do with them. So no, I've never had a bad ethics handling. My dad taught me a lot about the ethics conditions from a very young age. I was probably like, I want to say I was maybe 7 years old, 6 or 7 years old, when he first showed me, he had Introduction to Scientology Ethics, and he talked to me about the non-existence and applying the non-existence formula, to places in life. And then, I remember him assigning me, different ethics conditions when I'd, rather than like grounding me, he would put me in a lowered ethics condition and have me do certain things to get myself out of that ethics condition. But yeah, no, it was nothing, my dad was very reasonable about it. If I did something stupid, he'd put me in a lower ethics condition. And it was, of course, I knew I was doing something stupid, and it wasn't, anything that lasted very particularly long. So no, he was really good about that. I didn't really have any reality on it. I was a little too young to fully really comprehend it because I was still a kid. But no, to answer your question, I've never been assigned a wrong ethics condition. It just wasn't quite real to me yet until I was an adult. And I looked at tech myself when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. It wasn't really real yet to me then until about 2016 when I went and started doing my auditor training.
Right. Well, unfortunately, a lot of our listeners that listen to this podcast have been given a wrong indication as to a condition or a situation, or, we've got knowledge reports and all of this stuff. And that's a whole other topic itself, knowledge reports.
That sounds gross, whatever it is.
Yeah. There was, it's your write-up of a situation. You have some knowledge of something, so you write it up. And it ends up being used as a platform to malign the other person, third party the other person, and all of this stuff. And it's an incredibly unpleasant affair.
Wow. So I saw little Johnny playing in mud pies and I write it up.
Right.
Wow.
And so, the ethics officer will look into the thing and, and all this, into whatever people have written up. And yeah. And in the right hands, it's a great idea. In the wrong hands, it's a really bad idea. And that is where things go wrong. Because ethics, again, like we said, ethics is a personal thing.
Yeah.
And what the church does is they say, well, you are in a so-and-so condition. Now, I'm going to say something here that is absolutely, people will laugh when they hear this. When's the last time you saw the church do a condition regarding a public towards them on an outflow? Never happened. Okay. When the church did something wrong and they said, you know what, we're assigning ourselves a condition of treason because we did something treasonous towards you. This has never happened. Now, I'm not saying that LRH would do this either, but it is something that needs to be looked at, because when you're dealing with, like LRH says, a situation where you're dealing with somebody of altitude, let's say, it's the inspector general, who used to be like Marty Rathman, and you're sending them a CSW to get a condition posting removed against you or something like that. And, if it was wrongly assigned and the ethics officer had something against you or whatever, and so they put you through hell, nobody ever cleaned anything up with you. So I'd like to indicate to all of our listeners that there was an awful lot of that type of thing going on in the church, and it's still going on at this very moment. That the door doth swing both ways, and that why people feel so badly about ethics. It's sort of like when we say as solo auditors, when you don't want to go in session, you absolutely need to go in session.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. If you don't feel good about ethics, then you've got some charge on some sort of a mishandling or a wrong indication on ethics.
Listen.
And what you need to do with it is you need to get it cleaned up, because My friends, you are doing yourself an incredible disservice from the standpoint of listing and nulling as far as an auditing process goes. It's our most powerful auditing process, and LR8 says, hell hath no fury like a person with an outlist. So, thus we are doing a podcast on this from this particular angle. And I think that this is, will be very cathartic for people, because the condition you failed to assign and an outlist on ethics because you were wrongfully accused and put in a wrong condition, or any number of things. The stories I could tell you, Jason, that I've seen personally of ethics flaps and stuff like that in the church. I mean, it's just one of those things that just gives you a pain behind your eye when you think about any one of those particular things. You're just like, I cannot believe that actually happened. It's just, these situations, they get into these weird, unusual solutions and all of this stuff, and people just finally go, I'm out. I can't do this anymore. Goodbye. And offlines they go, and they never come back because ethics was used incorrectly. So the condition you fail to assign, let's say that you've decided that because you were wrongfully accused, you were maligned, you were told you were a bad person, you were in bad, people third-partied you, and it really makes, LRH even says, look, if a person's getting auditing and they're on auditing lines, take them off auditing lines, because ethics is hard enough on a person as it is. They shouldn't be on auditing lines while they're getting ethics handlings. And it's true for this reason, because people are they're very tough on themselves, and they're even more tough when you have somebody standing on a 6-foot-high board fence with boots jumping down onto their head, being the ethics officer, saying, like, well, in my case, they told me, look, you have to marry this girl, even though she went out 2D with you and she's pregnant with your child. You have to marry her still. There's a prime example.
Yeah.
There's a prime example. So what happens here with these conditions, you guys are familiar, our listeners, you guys are familiar with the conditions. You've got power change, power, affluence, normal. What else is there? Non-existence. In between, you've got danger and emergency, then normal, then affluence. And then you've got liability, doubt, enemy, treason, and confusion. So all of these conditions, LR8 says, are manifest. Whether you write them down or not, whether you know them or not, whether you're aware of them at all or not, they still occur. So what does this have to do with the condition you failed to assign? Well, it has everything to do with this. We're going to go big, and then we're going to get small. So right now, we are post-COVID. It's going to get controversial, so buckle up, folks. Right now, we're post-COVID. We've got people who have gotten this shot that is as caustic can be, and is killing people in large numbers. Okay, we have had, it makes 9/11 look like a costume party with tea afterwards. And it is a calculated and designed program to eliminate a large swath of the population over the course of the next several years.
Is it?
All right, so what do you do if you're blind to ethics and you're like, and this is a true story. I've actually had somebody tell me in the field that, well, what went on with LRH when he came up with the ethics stuff and all of this was because when they moved into St. Hill, the pipes were lead. And so all of him and his kids suffered from lead poisoning because they had lead pipes. And that was what promulgated him to get all crazy and want to control everybody with ethics. I kid you not. And they said it to me with a straight face. Now, never mind the fact that Elleridge came up with the L's in 1971 after he couldn't go back to England. I mean, stop and think about that for a second. Never mind the fact that he came up with knots in 1977 with David Mayo's help, admittedly.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't seem like he was not in the correct frame of mind to me.
Right.
This stuff really, really works. All of these things. I mean, I could go on. Look at anything that he published from 1967 on, when he wasn't at St. Hill anymore. So that dog doesn't hunt for me. What does resonate with me is the fact that people don't like to be told what to do, and they don't want to be told how to do it. They don't want to be educated on that they have to monitor themselves. They just want to run roughshod wherever they want and not have anybody tell them what to do, which means their objectives are unflat. Because the fact of the matter is what is ethics for? Elleridge says ethics is for the purpose of cutting out other fish to fry and getting on with the program. And what that means is if you're trying to get something done and somebody's over here doing something that is completely off the line, that's other fish to fry. It gets in the way. And this is proven time and time and time again. Ethics, then tech, then admin. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean you have to shove it down their throat. You can sit down and talk to somebody and say, look, you canceled your last 8 sessions with me out of the last 15. So that's about 50%. What's going on? What's going on in your life that you can't put order in so that you can get up the bridge? I mean, that's the right. The most delicate thing I can put it is because if the ethics aren't in, the tech doesn't go in. It just doesn't work. We've seen it bunches and bunches and bunches of time here at AOGP. I saw it when I was in the church. Doesn't matter whether I was in the church or not. The fact of the matter is it's still true that if ethics is out, tech doesn't go in, admin won't go in. What does that mean? It means that you need to be aware of the fact that whether you do them or not, like them or not, these conditions apply. We've had some people that say, well, can you do a podcast about, how to run your business on all that stuff and using the tech? Well, this is a little bit of that as well. Because when you fail to assign a condition with a situation like COVID, and you don't do something about it and take some knowledge, responsibility, and control, the old KRC triangle, then you take on the condition that you failed to assign. So remember we were talking, I think it was yesterday. Was it yesterday? We never did look in between now and then. Who was it that said tyranny is when good men do nothing?
Let's see.
Can you look that up?
I'm going to answer that right
quick?
now.
I want to know who it is. If it's Thomas Paine, I'm going to smack myself. I don't think it is, but it's one of those guys.
Tyranny is when good men do nothing.
Who is it?
Let's see.
Jeopardy music plays.
Right. Oh, man.
Good men do nothing. Okay.
Let's see. This says Edmund Burke. Is that correct?
Sounds right.
Yeah.
Sounds right. He's
right.
in my family,
Edmund Burke.
so
yeah,
that's fine. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So what is that? That is the condition you fail to assign. So you take on the condition that you failed to assign. So if there's a shit show going on, and you're like, that's, let's take an example, a funny example. The last episode of Seinfeld. What happens?
Oh, I don't know.
You remember?
Never got into Seinfeld.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Okay.
Not a sitcom guy.
They see this illegal act go down, and then they do nothing about it.
Okay.
And they end up in jail at the end of the episode, and that's the end of Seinfeld. Because they took no knowledge, responsibility, or control of it.
Yeah, I get it. Okay.
No KRC. So this goes for COVID, that, you need to do something about it. At a minimum, you need to educate yourself on the fact that we are being abused by these drug companies, and we are being abused by these lawmakers, and we are being abused by the so-called World Health Organization, who has no legal ground and standing in the United States or any other country. They're an arbitrary body backed by the Rockefellers and backed by good old Mr. Microsoft himself. So
the World Economic Forum and all.
The World Economic Forum as well, all of this stuff. And nobody has any right to tell you what you can put in your body, let alone that you should put a mask on your face that doesn't do any good in the first place. Anybody with any kind of biology class in high school, especially biology 2, at a minimum, you understand that a virus is going to go right through one of those masks. So this is the thing, is you have to apply the condition, because if you don't and assign it properly, you're going to pay for it in the long run. Now, what does this have to do with Scientologists? Well, COVID is one example, which is, on the world stage. And then you've got the Church of Scientology is another. Here you have all of these Sea Org members, and I'm not pointing any fingers, and I'm not making anybody wrong that's listening to this that was in the SO and was in upper management. Don't be sending me any hot emails, because you're going to have to listen to this, and you're going to have to get what I'm saying. Because the fact of the matter is nobody, unless they tried to and left and we just haven't heard about them, which is a possibility, nobody ever assigned David Miscavige a condition. Okay, now that doesn't mean that you go up to him and say, hey, Dave, you're in a condition of treason with LRH. He'd probably just go, seize him, and stick him in a 55-gallon drum of water and make him sing for 5 hours or 10 hours. Any number of things these nut jobs did to people.
Kill all of them.
So, but the thing is you don't have to walk up to somebody. You have to make a postulate. You have to make that decision, and you have to go, okay, this guy is an enemy to LRH. And you have to start pushing that line and getting ethics in on the person. And the blow-off HCOB is, why does a person leave? Well, the situation is so bad, then they can't handle it that they have to leave, or they've got overts and they blow. That's the order of what the HCOB says. And that very well may have happened, but the thing is you're looking at this, the 1% and the 99%. Your 50 Sea Org members marched in, knocked down the door, and grabbed that midget by his throat and wrapped him up in duct tape. Now, I'm not saying what they should do afterwards with him, whatever they choose to do with him afterwards as well. That would be up to this hypothetical group. I'd be fine with whatever it was that they chose.
I know.
But the point is, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Nobody's ever,
That didn't happen. And now look where we're at now.
Mm-hmm.
It's the condition we fail to assign. And if you look at the picture that we put together this morning for this particular episode, you're looking at a bunch of lawmakers laughing it up with all this money flying around and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the situation, is you have to take some responsibility, some knowledge and control. And this means not only in your own life on your first dynamic and apply conditions, but you have to apply conditions to other people around you. You cannot walk away from the subject of Scientology knowing what you know, and I'm sorry, this is going to rub some people the wrong way, without you pulling in a motivator in because you stood there and you did nothing when you knew better. I said it. And that's the fact. You have to take responsibility for something like Scientology when you know in your heart of hearts, bless your sweet little heart, that Scientology works, and when you apply it, you get something out of it, and other people do. Because what happens is the game becomes get you by your own free will. This is why we've got to do something about this situation with what's going on with Scientology. Now, do we storm the flag land base and take it over?
No,
really.
No.
Do we want it? Not really. I've had people that say, we could take back the church and it's like, why would you want to?
Right.
It's NMES.
Mm-hmm.
It's NMES.
Right.
When you can just keep doing what you're doing outside of it. You don't have to have all their pretty little shiny things in order to do everything, because it's in turbulated mess.
Right. But we are
that's
taking
the thing.
We are taking responsibility for the tech, though. That is one thing.
Right. We are right.
Because Scientology is not a building. It's not a uniform. It's not it's and we are taking responsibility for that side of it, where we're taking responsibility for the tech. Yeah, those buildings, those are buildings.
They don't mean a thing. They're just theta traps. That's what Ellerate says. He says, if that happens to Scientology, walk away.
Right.
And that's what's happened. It's the fastest shrinking religion on the planet because of this stuff. You can have all the pretty little things you want and have your own TV station, so to speak, and everything like that. But if you're not delivering the goods, you're not delivering the goods. And if you're making people unhappy by the things that you do, it ain't Scientology anymore. It's something else.
Yep. So that's where we come in to take responsibility.
Right.
Somebody's got to.
Somebody's got responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody's got to do it.
Yep.
That's right. Now, Ellerate says, this is from Conditions Handlings. This is from 2 November 1982. He says, there is a law that holds true in this universe, whereby if one does not correctly designate the condition he is in and apply its formula to his or her activities, or if he or she assigns and applies the wrong condition, then the following happens. He will inevitably drop one condition below the condition he is actually in. Thus, if one incorrectly says that they are in power, the condition of power, and tries to apply that formula when he is actually in non-existence, he will inevitably drop to liability. If one correctly states he is in normal when he is actually in emergency, he will drop to danger. Thus, it is vital to accurately and honestly ascertain the conditions one is in and apply that formula and actually do it. Otherwise, one can go the route and drop down the conditions without ever understanding why. Whole nations do this, and it is one of the reasons for the decline of civilizations. Look at Rome.
It is.
And while one is not a nation, one is still important enough to properly handle conditions. And remember that it is not enough to do this as a simple administrative exercise. One actually has to do, it's in italics on the do, the formulas if he ever expects his condition to improve. The way to never be faced with post situations for which there seems to be no handling is to routinely and regularly ascertain and apply the conditions formulas to one's post and activities. So, and we go back to the top of this particular policy letter. He says one has to do the steps of a condition formula in order to improve one's condition. And those doing this is which will bring about a changed condition will then be reflected in one's statistics. Now, that's the whole thing with a condition is it isn't just write up the condition and then not do anything. It's just like a postulate. Somebody says, well, I'm going to make the postulate that I'm going to win the lottery. Okay, that's nice. What are you going to do about that? Now,
right.
Maybe, if you're on the upper OT levels and you've got all of this case moved out of the way and you can intend properly and everything, yeah, sure. Sometimes postulates do stick really, really well when you're an OT. But most postulates, you decide, I'm going to brush my teeth in the morning and I'm going to brush my teeth at night before I go to bed. That's a postulate of doing this. It takes doing this.
Right.
You have to brush your teeth. And then this is another thing that's going to probably chafe some people is what is required for somebody to do something? What does a person have to have? What quality does a person have to have in order to see something through?
Responsibility.
Yeah. What else?
I mean, the will to do it, the desire to do it, a reason,
That's
a
right.
motivation to do it. Yeah.
That's right. You've got to have, and I know you because you've been in 2 branches of the military.
Mm-hmm.
Starts with a D.
Oh, discipline. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's one people don't like to talk
Discipline.
about. Yeah.
That's one people don't like to talk about, because discipline and confront, guess what?
Right. Yeah.
They're pretty much the same thing.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
pretty much the same thing.
Right. Discipline is what you achieve. I would say discipline is what you achieve after having applied confront. You know, discipline isn't getting up once early in the morning to do something. It's having gotten up early many times to do that thing. Having that confront consistently, then that's discipline.
Right.
You know, discipline
when
isn't.
you hear reveille go off at 5 o'clock in the morning or 4:30 in the morning, you've got to come get up and do it.
Right. Not
that's
just
all
once.
there is to it, because that's right. Because you are property of the U.S. government.
Mm-hmm.
And U.S. government says U.S. government's property gets up out of that bunk and gets dressed and makes sure that everything is tight and they can bounce a quarter off that bed.
Mm-hmm.
That's discipline.
Right. Consistent.
So, right. That's consistent. So you have to, it takes confront to be in the military.
Yeah.
It does. That's the people that have been in the military will tell you their confront seriously changed when they went into the military.
Mm-hmm.
So this is super, 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 super important for people to understand, that it takes discipline, serious discipline and confront, in order to assign a condition formula to an area. And even before that, I'd have to say, what's the first line of resistance that a person has on ethics? Learning about it, in my estimation.
Mm-hmm.
They have to understand what conditions are, how they're used, and they need to know what conditions are tied to, which is statistics.
Right.
You hear some people say, well, that's all the church wants to do is just, more and more and more, take, produce, and that's it. Well, in some ways that's true, because there's more to life than just pushing for a statistic. But if you want to be happy, you have to apply the proper conditions, because here's this one little thing. And this isn't something that I've ever seen. A friend of mine, when I was in training at Flag from Denmark, told me this one day when we were on our way to course on a Saturday morning. I remember it like it was yesterday. His name was Peter. Peter told me, he said, to the degree that you're happy is to the degree that your ethics are in. How do you achieve that? By conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, conditions aren't an end all or a know all or be all or anything like that, but they direct you in the direction that you need to go in order to be happy. Now, if you're unhappy, what condition are you in? Well, find out what condition that is. Mm-hmm. If a group of people are unhappy and you're over them, then you need to assign the area a condition in order to, and in assigning an area a condition, that might mean doing a poll. That might mean doing an investigation using the data series technology to find out what the ideal scene is, because nobody will know generally what an ideal scene is until you establish what the area is doing and what the ideal scene should be, and then find the difference between the two by doing an evaluation. Then you can do an admin scale, and you can keep ethics in by having goals, policies, plans, programs, all of this stuff in alignment at the point to where people are happy. Mm-hmm. When's the last time we walked in the U.S.? When's the last time you walked into an establishment and people were happy?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I actually have to think about that.
I can only think of one place. It just popped into my head that I thought would come somewhat. I can't say that it would be, because the absolutes are unobtainable, of course, per LRH, and I see that as a fact. But one of the places that I could say that I see that is close to that, and you're gonna be shocked when I say it. You know where it is? Chick-fil-A. You ever been to a Chick-fil-A?
Yeah. I'm trying to think about the last time I went into one. Yeah, the last time I went into a Chick-fil-A it was in the middle of COVID, and I was doing deliveries as Uber Eats, and I picked up Chick-fil-A. That's the last time I've been around a Chick-fil-A. Mm-hmm. So that wasn't even going inside. That was when they were doing the bullshit handoff things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a little weird then. Of course,
but the last time I went into
arbitraries that were put on the line.
Okay, now I got a picture. Yeah. Friendly. Yep, I see it. Yeah.
They're A to B.
Mm-hmm.
They're crazy busy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the one where I used to live,
mm-hmm.
they had, I'm not kidding you, they had 5 drive-through lanes, Jason. 5 drive-through lanes, and they had somebody standing out there with a tablet and a credit card machine and headphones, and they were all in communication with each other. They were all connected up internet-wise, and you would get through that drive-through, and you get to the window, and they order your order, no matter which lane you came from, you got your order.
Mm-hmm.
These guys, and they're fundamental.
Yeah,
they're fundamental Christians, and they don't. I'm sorry, like absolutes are unobtainable. They don't hire blacks, and they've been sued for it.
Oh man. Yeah, I had no idea.
It's right. So that's there's always an ethics blind spot, but
yeah, and it's
they have their act together.
Yeah, I was thinking another one that came up in there, another fundamental Christian group. It's In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah, In-N-Out is very much the same way,
and they're they've got Bible verses on the bottom of all their things. Yeah.
So okay, so they're pushing their religion just like we are with a podcast. So we'll acknowledge that I consider it a religious philosophy, not a religion. But the thing is to the degree that ethics are in, people are happy. When you go to In-N-Out, you go to Chick-fil-A, snap and pop.
Yeah.
Production is the basis of morale, LRH says, and that is so true.
Mm-hmm.
To the degree that you're producing is to the degree that you're happy. To the degree that you're happy is to the degree that your ethics are in.
Mm-hmm.
And why? Because you're assigning the right condition.
Yeah.
You're getting paid properly for what you do. You get done at work and you feel like, God damn, I got some shit done today.
Right.
And you have some value. What's the difference between, well, I loafed a lot and everything and I got out of work, and you don't really feel great about yourself because you got paid for something that you didn't do. So ethics is being able to paint with a clean brush without bias and be honest with yourself. And if you're honest with yourself, then you can be happy and you can apply the condition that you're in. And whether you know about the conditions or not, some people go through their entire lives and they've never heard of the conditions, but they just live right.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. They do right by people. And some of the nicest people I've ever met, I used to know a Mormon family.
No.
They were the nicest people. I've never met a Scientologist family that was anywhere near as nice as a Mormon family because they're accepting. There's no judgment.
Yep, that's right.
They love kids. They take care of kids. Family is where it's at.
Yeah, I served with a lot of guys who are LDS. Yeah, they're just wonderful human beings.
They are great, great people.
Yeah.
If I was going to be in the trenches in a battle, I'd want to have a Mormon as my wingman.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So and there's no reason that Scientologists can't be the same way.
Right.
There's no reason that anybody can't be the same way. So it doesn't have anything to do whether you're a Scientologist, you're a Mormon, or you're Catholic, or a Christian, whatever. I've met some really nice, beautiful Catholic people. I've met some really nice Christian people.
Yeah.
I've met different walks of life. But the thing is you have to be vigilant, and you have to look at things with an unjaundiced, biased eye for yourself and for other people, and be able to assign conditions and be able to look at these conditions and apply them to you, because they're there.
Right.
Whether you know it or not. And we're trying to make you aware of it. I mean, this stuff is free from us. You can get this data and you can do anything you want with it. I prefer that you learn it, look up your words, and apply it. And the thing is we even have the tech. Candy Swanson, one of the original Class 8s, gave LRH 2 great references. And she said, here, I'm giving these to you. You can put your name on them. One of them was Conditions by Dynamics that LRH published. And the other is Repair of Past Ethics Conditions. Okay, now, Repair of Past Ethics Conditions is an amazing, amazing tech. Because what you're doing is you're going back and you're basically, from an auditor standpoint, since we were talking about this yesterday, you and I, not in a podcast.
Right.
We got the date and locate technology, right? Where you can go and date and locate something, and you can blow it by getting an as-isness of when it was, where it was, and what was going on. Well, Repair of Past Ethics Conditions, policy letter, kind of the same thing.
Right.
You're asking the person, hey, was there ever a condition you didn't complete, didn't do, never assigned, somebody assigned you and you felt bad about it, was wrongfully assigned, anything? And the person goes, this is just for the sake of this, but they go, well, fuck yeah.
Right.
You got 10 hours.
Right.
You were in the church for 30 years. Okay. So which one there on that heap of all of those things was, what's bothering you the most, son?
Yeah.
And so you get the person to look at it and you go, okay, so tell me about it. And you get them to get a little bit of time, place, form, and event on it. And you say, okay, so was that a wrong indication? Yeah.
Right.
Okay. It was a wrong indication. I'd like to indicate it was a wrong indication. It was a wrong condition. What was the condition? And I'm paraphrasing this big time for what it actually says in the reference. But what was the condition that you didn't assign, or you failed to assign, or not at all? What was that condition instead of what you were told it was, or you told yourself it was? I mean, it isn't that far off from listing and nulling.
Right.
It's not listing and nulling, but it's, a wrong indication is a heavy weight on a person's universe. So you're asking this person, okay, so what condition was it? Take a look. Here's the list. What was going on then? And you get the person to look at it. And then you say, okay, that's the right condition. Let's say they say, well, it was kind of treason against myself to let myself get fat like that. And, I was eating pizzas every day and drinking 15 Diet Cokes. And I was really depressed because I didn't get into college. And I was going to the church, and the church said, that I was in some other condition type of a thing. And I think they were kind of telling me that because they wanted me to give them money for stuff or something like that, whatever. And so the person says, I was in treason. So you get them to do treason. And they do treason correctly at that time. And then you get them to do the next condition and the next condition and the next condition until they come up to normal. Okay, so now you've gotten some as-isness that we were talking about in the last podcast, because the states of being. You've gone from alter-isness to isness to as-isness on this condition. Well, guess what? The universe, and I know this sounds airy-fairy and everything like that, but it's true. This is how this whole thing works. The universe is going to respond in kind to this person because they've gotten that condition handled to where it is now the correct condition, and their attention is taken off of it, just like auditing. Their attention is taken off of it, and now they can apply a condition in present time. Because when a person has a wrong condition or a bunch of wrong conditions that they've got left open or whatever on their track, they're not going to be able to apply a right condition in present time. And they're going to be, fuck that. I don't need to do conditions. LRH was lead poisoning. He's a crazy fucker. No.
Right.
It's only that way, and you blow it off because of a wrong indication or indications. And once you get a proper indication and you're very good indicators about it, and you're FNing, which we also do put them on a meter for each condition assignment, and you see that they're FNing and they feel good about it. I mean, it's just this side of an auditing process. I mean, they're not that different. Then the person can apply a condition in present time and feel good about it. And all of a sudden you see this restoration of willingness to apply conditions in their life. It is fantastic what repair of past ethics conditions can do for somebody.
Yeah.
And you can have this stuff all over the place in a person's life, whether they were in Scientology or not, or, maybe somebody got court-martialed for something in the military that they didn't do. They were wrongfully accused. Happens all the time.
Right. Or got away with something.
You can do a repair. Right. You can do a repair of past ethics conditions on whether they did do it or they didn't do it.
Right.
And once you get it straightened up, well, all of a sudden the universe rights itself. Now, it isn't the universe that's righting itself. It sure seems like it. And it's easy to say that.
Right.
You know what's righting itself?
First dynamic.
The being.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And that is why the condition you fail to assign pops up every single time.
Right.
Well, and it's no fault of your own. Shit happens. Grant yourself some beingness, love yourself enough to sit down, contact us. If you don't sorry, I'm going to sound like one of these law office commercials. If you don't contact us, get help somewhere.
Right.
From somebody that knows what the hell they're doing on ethics conditions. Doesn't have to be us, but we'd be happy to help you pro bono.
Right.
And get these things straightened out. Because if you're not getting up the bridge, you're unhappy. You want to get up the bridge, and you're listening to this podcast and you're like, how the hell am I going to pay for this? Chances are you've got an incomplete condition on finances somewhere and you need some repair of past ethics handling, or something along that line where you failed to assign a condition properly and you've been spinning and spiraling out of control like a plane that lost its rudder for God knows how many decades, how many lifetimes. And repair of past ethics conditions, mind you, you go past life on repair of past ethics conditions about as easily as you do method 1 word clearing. It's very, very common. So the moral of the story is, boys and girls, is you need to understand that the conditions in life apply to us, whether we're aware of them or not, and that you need to sit down and love yourself enough and have enough affinity for yourself, your wife, your children, your family, and sit down and write a condition out on an area that you're having trouble with at this very moment. Grab that ethics book and sit down. If you have any questions, send us a message on the website, send us an email. We'll give you the data and show you the data that you need to do this stuff, because this is what happens in a society where we fail to take responsibility and apply a condition, where we have a bankrupt country, we have politicians who are on the take from all of these multi-billion-dollar corporations and everything. Is we have to take our lives, our country, our planet back before it's too late. And we, first and foremostly, we have to take that which is ours and LRH gave us freely, and that is our own beloved independent Scientology.
Right.
So don't sit around listen to this podcast again if you have to, and confront. I know it's hard. The world begins with TR0, LRH says. Sit there and confront the fact that you can do something about your life. You can do something about the state of existence, and you can have dedication. You can have the decision and the moral fiber for yourself to make a change in your life and the lives of others, and you know, be dedicated for it and have some self-control. Those are the most important things you can do right now, given all of the craziness that's going on. I mean, day by day, things are eroding that much quicker. It's obvious. And if it isn't obvious to you, open your eyes. We're here. We're here to help. We want to help you. LRH's stuff is alive and well, and we're keeping it here.
Right.
So, apply that condition and assign the right conditions by knowing them, living them, breathing them. It just takes a couple of minutes a week to look at your statistics. Am I up or am I down? And LRH says if a statistic isn't going up, it's going down.
Mm-hmm.
And you can fix it by applying that condition and putting it into a little battle plan of what am I going to do this week to make more money?
Right.
How many deliveries am I going to work? Am I going to work on the weekends, or am I going to work during the week and the weekends to make up the difference? Or, you know, whatever it is. Sorry, Jason, I'm not trying to hang you out.
It's easy to, yeah. Something that actually was applied. Yeah.
Right. Something was actually applied.
Yeah.
And
that's afterwards.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
Right. Because like LR8 says in the data series, the why opens the door to a handling.
Yeah.
Right. If you have the correct why, conditions done properly give you the correct why. Because if you can look at something, if you can't see what's going on, get some help. We'll be happy to help you out. We also do business consulting, and we can help you with that. So anyway, Jason, you have anything you want to add on this before we get out of here before an hour is up?
No, this is great. I think the real valuable information here, and yeah, uncomfortable, but like you said, it's about confront. It's just,
Yeah. Well, it's just like that, to the degree that you don't want to go in session as a solo auditor is to the degree that you need to go in session. To the degree that you don't want to confront your personal conditions, my friends, is to the degree that you need to confront your personal conditions, and do not put it off. Because the more you put it off, the lower you go down the conditions. We don't want to have that. And that is why you don't see any posts on Facebook. Nobody's saying anything about independent Scientology anymore on Facebook. It is a mausoleum because they've beaten people so far into the ground after COVID that nobody cares anymore. They're apathetic. And we're changing that. We're creating a dialogue, and we're putting out these podcasts every week. And we're taking the time to tell you to rise up, raise your head up, get off your knees, rub a little dirt on it, get back in there and confront these materials and start applying them to your lives.
Right.
And we're not saying this in a mean way. We're saying this we're granting you beingness. You can do it. We're here to help you if you want our help. That's it.
Right.
We want you to go free. We want you to go OT. And OTs work better in numbers. It's lonely at the top, and we'd like some company. Come join us. So, Jason, shall we depart?
Yeah. And do this again. Have some more podcasts out this week.
Guys. Yeah. Yep. See you guys on Wednesday with another podcast. We may have a special guest. Don't know yet. But we'll have some very interesting podcasts coming up. I've been working on this last weekend on new podcasts. So for Jason Roba and myself on the ao-gp.org Outside of the Church podcast, we bid you adieu. Take care of yourselves. We love you, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.